and welcome to yet another program of healthy living right here on Times. Now remember, this program is aimed at explaining or rather talking about all things non-communicable diseases. I am Tabby Kamangala, and remember also that this program is sponsored by MASM.
You have all your MASM information in one place. With the MASM mobile app, all MASM members register on the MASM mobile app. Download the app from Apple Store or Google Play Store. Install and open. Click register to register. Enter your membership number. The default membership number has 9 digits. If you don't succeed, try 11 digits. Choose your name, password, and OTP destination. Remember, when adding your mobile number, 265, not plus 265. You can also register with your email address easily and keep updated with your MASM account right in the palm of your hand. For more information, email infodesk@masm.mw or visit www.masm.mw.
Now, joining me in today's program is Eliza Mkutumula. She is a public health professional and she works with the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm good. We're just going to get right into it because we want to talk about stress.
Yes.
What is stress?
So I guess the textbook definition of stress is emotional or physical tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so and stress can be brought about by different things. That's why it says it could be physical or emotional.
I was going to say I didn't know stress was also physical. I just thought it's an emotional thing.
No, it's a physical thing too.
Could you take us through that? What is the difference between emotional stress and the physical stress?
Okay, so first, let me just explain what stress is, because I think most of us, when we hear stress, we always think of stress as a bad thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But stress can be good. What matters?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So stress is a natural response. It's a reaction of the body to a challenge or a demand.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you've heard of the term fight or flight. Have you heard of that? So in science, when the body is faced with a challenge, so let's, for example, a good example that some people have heard is that, let's say you're walking in the jungle and you see a lion.
Mm-hmm.
So your body has this, it responds to that to try to help you. So you can either decide to run, so that's what it says, flight, or fight. So it prepares for either one of those. So obviously, if you see a lion, I would hope that you would fight, you would run, flight.
Right.
Yes. So stress in a short term is a good thing because it gives your body that extra energy to do something. So for example, I'm sure you've been a time when you have to write an exam or here at work you have a deadline and you know you get that burst of energy.
Yeah.
That is stress.
Yeah.
So in a short term, it's a good thing because it helps you do something that needs to be done. So like the example of the lion, it gives you it prepares your body to respond in a way that will save your life. Of course, a deadline is not a matter of life and death, but the body responds the same way.
Right.
Like it's a matter of life and death. So it gives you the energy or the drive or whatever it is for you to do that. So in a short term, stress is good. Stress becomes a problem when it's a long term, it's chronic. So for example, if you're always you're always in a stressful situation, so whether it's at work, whether there's something at work that stresses you out, so it could be maybe a bad boss or a bad working environment. So it's like you're constantly in that state of stress. So because when your body is in a state of stress, your body releases certain hormones, and it makes so some of the physical response that you may know is your heart starts beating faster, you start sweating.
I know that.
Exactly. So those things are good in a way. In a short term, they are good things because if your heart is racing, it means that more blood is pumping through your body, giving you enough energy again to that lion for you to run. You know what I mean? So it's in a short term, it's a good thing. But if you're always in that state where your heart is always beating faster, you have this, it's a stress hormone in your body. It can start to cause physical damage to your body. It can also affect the way your emotions. So that's when we we talk about depression, we talk about panic attacks. You're always fear, like these things that are not good for your body for a long period of time. Short time is okay, because after a while your body goes back to its normal state, and that's how it should be. But if you're in constant state like that, it starts causing physical damage to your body.
Now, I mean, you've spoken about emotional and physical stress.
Yes.
Are these the types of stress, or there are more?
No, so that's kind of like a definition. So it just tries to show that stress has both a physical manifestation for your body. So like we talked about increased heart rate,
right?
What else? Sweating. Some people sweat, or some people get hot. All those are physical, and actually some people even get muscle aches, so body pains. You can't sleep, stuff like that. Those are physical things. And then there's the emotional stress is where your mind, like if you're preparing for an exam or a deadline, your mind is resting. So it's like, and then also it also affects the way you think. So you can either, if you're if in a good way, if stress gives you this drive to you feel proud of yourself, you feel confident, those are good things. But for some people, they feel less than. You start feeling afraid, you start feeling low self-esteem, all those things. So those are the emotional part.
Right. Are there any other types of stress? Maybe let me ask in that manner.
Well, I not so much as types, but I guess maybe how different people respond to stress.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So for a good example, I remember I was talking to a friend the other day. She's getting ready to go and start her master's program. So we're talking about how we respond to exams and stuff. So for me, when I'm stressed, I stress eat. Whereas she was saying that when she's stressed, she doesn't eat. You know what I mean? So those are how we respond to stress. So, but it's also important that we both know how we respond, because we will talk about how you can manage stress, because that helps you to manage stress. So when you recognize that, so for me, I know that. I know my eating habits. So when I'm stressed, sometimes I start eating, and I eat stuff that I normally don't eat. So it's important for me to be mindful of that. And same thing for my friend who doesn't eat when she's stressed. That's not good either, because your body needs to, especially when you're writing exams or doing things that put a demand on your body, you need to make sure that you're eating right and you're eating regularly. Yes.
What is stress caused by?
So like what I was saying, that stress is a natural response of the body to a challenge or demand. So if there's a demand put on your body, your body, so there's a physiological response. So in a way we say your body kind of wants to help you in a situation that is an extra demand on your body. So for example, we all walk. There are things that we do day to day that don't cause us to be stressed. So it's like our body naturally does those things. But then when there's that extra demand or a challenge that's put on your body, whether I'll keep going to the example of a lion, that's something. It's a challenge. You know what I mean? So your body, our body is an amazing thing. When your eyes see that lion, immediately your brain responds by producing these they're called stress hormones. Of course I won't mention them, but what they do is they act on different parts of our body. So for example, in the heart, it causes it to start racing, so beating faster, so that it can take more blood to our muscles in the body. And then also our muscles, they tense up to kind of prepare you for work. And then the other thing, that stress hormone also, it kind of takes blood away from organs that are not needed for you to fight or run away from the lion. So for example, your digestive system, that digestive system has no function when you want to save your life. So that's why sometimes people say, would you, when some people respond by, I guess, maybe peeing on themselves, or even, their bowels becomes loose, because blood is taken away from your digestive system quickly, so that it goes to the organs that need you to fight or like run. So that's a natural response. Okay, so stress is caused by something outside your body.
Right. Is there an age group issue? Who can get stress? Is it kids? Is it old age?
So everyone. So because it's a natural response to something, anyone can be. So like babies, grown-ups. So it's like, what do you call it? It's an automatic response to something. Now,
babies can get stressed?
Yes, so the good stress that we talked about right now, the other stress, so that is of physical harm or emotional harm, mostly it's us grown-ups.
Right.
And most of the times, as we talked about, it happens because there's something in your environment, not like, just physical environment, but also emotional environment. So a good example, for myself, I'll talk for myself as a mother, I have young kids.
Yes.
I know that those are sources of my stress. Example.
Your kids.
Yeah. A good example, Monday mornings are rough,
Yeah.
So, when we're trying to get ready for school, I'll wake up, I'm like, and I know that, you know what I mean? I'll prepare. I was like, okay, today I'll be good. I'll ignore things. But there's always that one thing that just kind of exactly. You know what I mean? But it's a good thing that I know that happens, and I have control over that. Being that they are my I mean, of course, not all of it. Kids are pretty. I can control everything,
Sure.
And normally it's that. Stress happens when it's something that is beyond your control. So for example, if you're at work, most of us, we don't have as much power where we work, because we have bosses, we have other people that we work with. So there's little that you can control. So sometimes that's what would cause you stress, especially if it's a bad working environment, or even for us as people, we come from homes with different people with different personalities. That can also be sources of stress. So I think the main thing though is being mindful. You know what I mean? Now, it's important for all of us to learn that as people, there's things that we can control and things that are beyond our control. And it's important to know those things and to focus on things that we can control and change, and then find a way to manage the things that we can control that are beyond our control. That's one of the best way that you can manage stress.
Yeah, speaking of managing stress, we'll talk about that right after this. Remember, you're watching Healthy Living here on Times, and we'll be back after this.
Life is an up and down journey where anything can happen at any time. But at any time, you have peace of mind with Mazim. Mazim offers all-inclusive affordable medical aid cover in various packages of schemes in line with your budget, with a promise to take care of you and your family in that time of dire need. From giving you access to medical services at hospitals locally and abroad, emergency evacuation, dentist, and optical care, all the way to funeral benefits. Mazim is there holding your hand, keeping you covered. For details of the medical scheme you need, call 01-820-298, 01-820-543, 0888-707-100, fax 01-820-217, email infodesk@mazim.mw, or visit www.mazim.mw. Mazim, your ultimate healthcare solution.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Healthy Living here on Times. Now, we are talking about stress. We've spoken about what stress is and also what it is caused by. But right now, we want to dive really quickly, Elisa, into there's been a high, or rather an increase in the number of suicides, especially among the youth. Is stress a factor, a trigger factor for this?
I would say yes. Now, I don't want to make this issue simplistic, because there are many factors that can cause someone to take their life. But stress is one of those. So remember, I talked about things that are beyond your control. And so, I'll take, for example, a young man, okay? Maybe he's a student, and there's very few things that young man can control, and things that are beyond his control. So, for example, he cannot control what kind of exams he gets, but he can control how he manages his time to prepare for those exams. He cannot control how, maybe his lecturers or his friends or whatever treat him, but he can control how he responds to that. And then also, we have to be realistic. As human beings, we can be mean to each other. And unfortunately, one of the unfortunate things about our setting here in Malawi is that we're still behind on how we look at things like mental health, so like stress or maybe depression, because as I talked about, stress if it's not managed, it can lead to depression. Because depression sometimes is a feeling of helplessness, hopelessness, out of control, and you personalize everything. So even if something is not your fault, you kind of think it is. And then if you don't have good coping skills, unfortunately, sometimes it can lead to someone taking their own life. So we have to normalize the fact that mental health is an issue. It's a medical thing, and that's why I said I don't want to simplify things, because I hear most of the times, unfortunately, when it's put, like, whether through you guys, when you put on social media, like the news, it's real news. You're talking about someone has taken their life, and I'm always interested. I read the comments, and they're so hurtful. You know what I mean? They're so callous and mean. They were like, how can you do something so stupid, taking your own life? What we don't realize is that, as I said, remember what I said, stress is a physical response. So it's a body's way of reacting to danger. You know what I mean? And it's like there's chemicals that are released in your body that kind of affect how your brain works. So all those chemicals, if they are not well regulated in your body, it kind of disturbs how you normally think. So for someone who has never had a mental issue, they think it's simple as you willing yourself to not kill yourself. That's not how it is. When someone reaches that point, it means that they have kind of lost control over their thinking, their doing, and that's what we have to be very careful when we just say, it's not a matter of you just saying, you know what, I'm not killing myself. I mean, who in their normal mind would think about harming themselves? We talk about survival of the fittest. We all want to survive. We're not going to do ourselves harm. So we have to understand, for someone to reach that point, it means that their brain is not functioning well. They have lost their ability to regulate, like self-regulate in a way. So most of the time, those people do need help, whether it's counseling, whether it's medication, to kind of balance, balance your hormones in your body, balance the way you think, help you, give you tools to be able to say, okay, this is not, something is wrong with me, help me to think. So we have, when we see that, let's stop saying things out of ignorance. Let's understand what it takes for somebody to reach that. The person is sick. We are able to understand physical sickness. I know we can't see mental illness, but it is a sickness too.
And it's real.
It is real.
There.
Yes.
Is there a cure for stress?
Yes. Now, there is a cure, because as I said, stress is a good thing if it's in temporary, short bursts of it. But chronic stress needs help. So there's cure. So for example, counseling. You can go to counseling and they teach you tools. So for some of the tools that they might teach you is just as simple as deep breathing. So I do get stressed, I'm not gonna lie. And one tool that I've learned that really helps me, it might not help everybody, but I normally just pull away. So I'll go to a quiet place and I'll take deep breath. Usually 5 works for me. So I close my eyes and I take deep breath. So I breathe in slowly, breathe out slowly, about 5 times. So what that does is it just helps me to kind of slow down. Because when you're stressed, your mind is racing, you think, So just that, it just helps me to slow down.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing, and it works. So it's called deep breathing exercises. The other one is imagery, like imagery relaxation. So for me, I love mountains. I like hiking.
Yeah.
I love water. So sometimes I sit back, I close my eyes, and I visualize that I'm at the beach or on top of the mountain, and I really try to conjure up that image. So that gives me peace.
Yeah.
So that helps. And then also there's sometimes just counting, and it's about slowness. You're just trying to slow everything
To make sure that you're not racing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then meditation and prayer, those that are religious, prayer helps, because it just helps you to kind of understand that you're more than just your feelings. You know what I mean? And then one thing that I actually just found out about this is affirming yourself. So for you, Tabi, you're a beautiful woman. You have a good job. You like what you do. So reminding yourself of those things, because when you're stressed, the way you look at yourself, it's not how you would normally look at yourself, or you would even look at somebody else.
Yeah.
You start, kind of tearing yourself down, and you have to take control of those thoughts and remind yourself of who, and tell yourself that, you know what, this is not me. Like I told you about with my kids, when I'm stressed. I have to remind myself that these are my kids. I love them. This is the way I'm feeling now. This is not how I usually feel. I know there's something wrong. I tell myself that. And also, I'm very lucky and thankful that I have a great husband that I can talk about these things with. And we help each other. So sometimes I can tell when he's stressed, and he can tell when I'm stressed, and we help each other out. Sometimes it's just a matter of saying, you know what, take time out, I'll handle this. And that helps. And so we have to do that for ourselves and for each other. But importantly, get help. Sometimes all these things doesn't work. I've gotten counseling before because I knew that it was getting out of hand. And so being mindful, knowing yourself and knowing when things get out of hand is important. And there's no shame in getting help. You go to hospital when you're sick, when you have a headache. Why shouldn't you when your emotions are not right?
I mean, speaking about hospitals and counseling, because you've mentioned counseling a lot. Now, if someone is stressed, or a family member or a friend is stressed, is the treatment or the management going to a hospital? Where are you going exactly when you get to the hospital? Okay, so there are steps, right?
So here, and I want to tell people that help for stress is not just a hospital. Many churches, or even nowadays some workplaces, they do have a person that you can go to, like a counselor, like in-house. And churches, and also the other thing, important thing to also remember that not everyone can help you with counseling. So you have to be selective. Even our friends, not everyone can help.
Some friends make things worse.
Thank you very much.
Say so,
Yes. So you can go to your church, see if they are, because a lot of churches have services like marriage counseling, whatever. So try to find out those resources. And then with the hospital, I'm not going to try to to say that I know, but I know there's an association. If people can go on Facebook, just search, I think, Malawi Association of Counselors. They have something. They have phone numbers there that you can call. And then if you go to the hospital, whether it's a private hospital, whatever, tell the doctor, no. Now, unfortunately, some people may not have that information, so you might need to go to different places until you find help. But the resources are out there. and I am very mindful that access to information for a lot of people is not easy.
Yeah.
So it's important to, do your homework, find out. Like nowadays, most of us have access to social media. And we know that, you brought up that point that we've been seeing a lot these news of people committing suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
So, if you go online and search about it's Malawi Association of Counselors or something like that, they have, and I always share it with my friends, get that, use, call those phone numbers, get help, Don't wait until something gets to that point where if you're thinking about killing yourself, there's something wrong, you need to get help. Because normally, I know and you know that we normally don't think like that. So if you're thinking that way, there's something wrong. And if I know, as I said, I don't want to minimize it, that it's not as easy as maybe just talking to someone, but get help.
Now, does food matter, dieting with stress?
Yes, it does. So, and I'm glad we'll go to the fitness, because exercise is one of the best ways to manage stress. And so exercise, just walking and walking outdoors, or even whatever you like to do, weightlifting, that helps, because it releases feel-good hormones, endorphins, that helps with managing stress. Nutrition is important. So I don't know if you've heard this term, it says garbage in, garbage out. Exactly. So it's the same. If you're always eating food that is not healthy for your body, it will affect you, and it might even affect you mentally, not just physically. We all know that when we don't feel good about ourselves, the way we look at ourselves is not good. So that can also trigger stress, that bad stress, not the good stress. Yes.
All right, thank you for that, Eliza.
You're welcome.
And that's all the time that we had for you here on Healthy Living on At Times. I was joined by Eliza Mkutumula, a public health professional who works with the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust. Now, she explained to us a lot about stress, the causes, and also prevention and cure, what you can do when you're stressed. So what I would say is, if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling low, she had also said that you should affirm yourself and tell yourself good things about yourself, such as you're beautiful, you are a passionate person, you are hardworking, you deserve great things, you deserve a vacation, or you're a nice person. So don't let that stress get to you too much. But other than that, I'll see you next time. I'm Tabby Kamangala, and remember, this program is sponsored by MAZM.
Life is an up and down journey where anything can happen at any time. But at any time, you have peace of mind with MAZM. MAZM offers all-inclusive affordable medical aid cover in various packages of schemes in line with your budget, with a promise to take care of you and your family in that time of dire need. From giving you access to medical services at hospitals locally and abroad, emergency evacuation, dentist, and optical care, all the way to funeral benefits. MAZM is there holding your hand, keeping you covered. For details of the medical scheme you need, call 01-820-298, 01-820-543, 0888-707-100, fax 01-820-217, email infodesk@mazm.mw, or visit www.mazm.mw. MAZM, your ultimate healthcare solution.